Scott is expected to unveil a Republican version of a police reform bill this week. What will that look like, and will they be able to work together with Democrats to get something passed? Here to weigh in is Pennsylvania Congressman Fred Keller. Congressman, thank you for joining us. What do you think could get through on both sides? A lot of people on both sides of the aisle believe that we can have some sort of reform. Forget defunding. But as far as reform, what should that look like?
Well, we've been having some roundtables in PA 12 to find out what our police departments are doing. We're going to continue to do that. But there are a couple of things we're talking about, and it's transparency, training, and then also termination, or what we call accountability, which would mean that you would have training and you would have accreditation of police departments to some kind of, best practice, but it might look different in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, than it does in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. So I think there's some things we can agree on as far as what things we could do, and that would be helpful in making sure that we don't have bad actors continue to operate on the street, because by and large, most of our police officers are outstanding individuals that keep us safe in our communities every day.
And Congressman, we keep hearing about defunding. Is that in this bill at all?
Well, again, I don't see anything going where you defund the police. I think that's a non-starter. And, when you look at the New York Times, and there was an op-ed that talked about getting rid of police and prisons, I think there's some people that are unreasonable and are.
All right, see if we get him back there. All of us have gone through the shutdown, have experienced this on either Zoom or Skype. Okay, back, Congressman, I think we have you back. Why don't you continue your thought? The question was related to actually defunding police. What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, again, the remarks that have been made, and of course, I don't know if you caught the op-ed that was in the New York Times about getting rid of police and prisons. That's just not realistic. And I'll tell you, police do a lot of good work on a daily basis. In fact, on my way into Washington, D.C. this morning, the police were helping a motorist change their tire. So, that's just one of the public service. But they keep us safe in our communities. And most of our police officers are thoughtful, caring people that do it right. You've got a few people that need to be removed, that like in Minneapolis or Atlanta, if that's the case, should be. But anyhow, the whole case here is we need to make sure there's transparency, training, and an accountability or termination to make sure that if there's somebody that shouldn't be in the police force, they're gotten out of there before somebody's harmed.
Yeah, and Congressman, what power does Congress have to actually have an impact on these local entities that are actually in charge of the police forces themselves?
Well, I think it comes to when we look at how we fund them and the things that we do. Again, I don't think that running the police forces of the community should happen out of Washington, D.C.
Right.
Because like I said earlier, things happen differently in Sunbury, where they have a 9-person police force versus in Philadelphia, where you have thousands of officers. And goals, but how you apply that and how you get there might look a little different.
Congressman, talk to us about a couple of things that are in the bill. You talk about, obviously, training. What else is it in there that will help police departments as well as our community?
Oh, he froze again. I mean, this is the era we're all familiar with, that freezing. So,
what's amazing is I'm sitting in my office in Washington, D.C.
There you go. Well, Washington always has a hard time communicating with the rest of the country. So we know that happens sometimes. Not you specifically, of course.
I don't know if you caught what I was saying, but, the elimination of chokeholds and some things like that we can all agree are things that we need to do, and putting in best practices when we're talking about accreditation of police forces. I think that would be very good to standards for what's right and how you train.
All right. Well, Congressman Fred Keller, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will have more on the spreading violence in America after this.